Good morning, and it is currently extremely misty in sunny Milton Keynes. Visibility is down to below 100 meters in some places, depending on airflow and all of that kind of stuff. Just before we get into the actual video, a quick message about road safety. If visibility is poor like this, turn your bloody lights on, because having a dark shape appear at you kind of within 100 meters traveling 60 miles an hour in the opposite direction is pretty unnerving, but having some lights that you can see further away, that's great. Do that. Yes, well, other than the excitement on the roads of of the town I've left, good old Milton Keynes. It's a driver-centric city now. Driver-centric city, and people can't drive properly. Well, I am back in sunny Milton Keynes once again for another tournament, bolt action tournament, at War Games Workshop, run by the Outriders MK. And today I am bringing some interesting models. Specifically, I am bringing my Germans, and I think this is the first time I have properly brought my Germans, because I've only just painted a couple of the squads. I have been, I did bring a tank war last year, one of the tank war events. I brought the Germans, but this is the first time I'm bringing a normal list. But because I have so many German vehicles, I of course have a pretty substantial armoured platoon. When I say substantial, there's 3 vehicles in there. What have I got? The Panzer III, the Hetzer, good old Hetzer, and the Stummel 251/9 Stummel with the light howitzer. And that will be pretty interesting, because I also have the brand new Warlord model of the /1 Hanomag. So I've got 2 Hanomags, one with the howitzer, one with the standard transport variant, and I've got a couple of veteran squads on board, which will be great. Running up with a couple of pretty spicy medium-sized vehicles, the Hetzer and the Panzer III, and then driving up a pair of Hanomags with veterans on board, that could be pretty tasty, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. I also have a little bit of on foot stuff as a bit of a backup. I've got another infantry squad, light mortar, an observer, an air observer. Actually, I can take it as whichever. I think I'll take artillery observer this time. I've done a lot of air observing, so let's see what the artillery observer is like. Something else. There was something else in my list. I'll have to edit it in. Right, as it's early o'clock in the morning, I'm going to go and set up some tables, as I usually do, and let's get into the discussion of the first game. So this perfectly in-frame photo of a gaming table is my first game. We are deploying off of the long edges and earning order dice for wiped out units only, with no other objectives. So I decided that my best opportunity for earning dice without losing them to my opponent is to take most of my force up in one push, or at least on the same side of the board, focusing my forces and hopefully splitting theirs. And to do this, I did actually kind of split to an extent. Half of my force went through this opening in the middle and the rest around the right flank. And this is just because if I went through one position, I'd end up in a choke point, and that would put me at a disadvantage. My opponent has a Finnish rifle platoon and a whole heap of captured vehicles. Finnish infantry are pretty scary, but their vehicles are pretty bad with the unreliable special rule, but there are quite a lot of them. If I can knock out some of the consomolets, I can earn some quick points, I think, and that's really my only idea going in. My right flank here was quite interesting, but didn't actually win me the game overall. The Panzer III and Hetzer moved into firing positions to harass anything moving on my centre push. And even though this didn't necessarily win the game in total, it certainly put my opponent on the back foot. Because when the Finns focused on this side of the board, my Hetzer didn't really stand much of a chance. The Stummel took revenge, wiping out half the squad before dropping off their veterans to finish it off, and they also got one of the consomolets, all going fairly well here. In the middle, however, I had planned things out pretty carefully, and I was going to make an excellent use of a snap to action. My Hanomag, my officer, and a veteran rifle squad all aiming at the same Finns, and you'll notice they're not on the board anymore. It was more successful than I had expected, because I didn't even need the fire from the rifle squad.
I started with the Hanomag's MG and the officer's submachine guns, and that was all that was needed to see them off. Oddly, you can see in this picture here, the sniper, light mortar and observer all took fire from various opposing forces and lost their assistance, but crucially for this mission, all three of these were not completely taken out, which means my opponent earned no points for them. And this is kind of unlucky for my opponent, who lost out on those 3 scoring points. My veteran rifle squad, with nothing better to do, moved off to the right side to finish off some more infantry that was over there, but really didn't do much else for the rest of the game. With the right and middle earning me a few points here and there, my units in the centre turned their attention to the enemy coming from the left. However, by this point I was realising that I was ahead on points, and we were kind of breathing down the neck of the last turn, so what I could do is just try and preserve my units, move back into cover, use the down order if I need to keep my units alive, preventing my opponent from earning any more points. Although there was one last little trick, my Stummel took advantage of the vehicle howitzers also getting to use indirect, and yeeted a 2-inch blast template across the table. It didn't actually hit anything, but it was funny and worth doing. Overall, I got a win, not by a lot, only by a few points, but that was enough. My second game in this lovely village, and we have to hold the middle objective, basically the centre of the board at the end of the game. My opponent chose to put some armoured infantry in reserve, and that gave me an opportunity. If I can bundle into the middle, stab up the units that my opponent would deploy at the start of the game, I would be in a good position to defend against the second half of their force when they arrive in turn 2, 3 or 4, whenever they show up. Now, I'd like to point out right from the beginning of the game, this particular rifle squad, the models are around the building, but it's just indicating that they are inside the building here. I sent my Hanomag with a veteran rifle squad and my Hetzer up on this side. I was kind of worried that my opponent's outflank would catch them as they passed, but in fact the opponent chose the other side of the board, so they were perfectly safe. They did manage to take out a few units, especially the infamous Japanese lunge mine, and the Hanomag was doing a fantastic job of supporting the dismounts with its machine gun, although I actually really starting to like the Stummel in that position. And whilst I managed to wipe most of this flank off the board, I did not manage to finish off that enemy rifle squad that was in that building. Let's come back to that because they're important. On the left, the enemy came along with just one rifle squad, and then the armoured push appeared. Somehow my Panzer III survived an assault, which I think caused my opponent to become target fixated on it, sending units to attack what really should have been ignored, my Panzer III, and instead of going for the centre of the board, just got stuck here. And with this horde of Japanese kind of bundling in from my left flank, the middle was actually going fairly well. My Stummel had fended off one of the enemy's tanks, and the vets finished it off, and whilst the vets moved into the objective, putting me in a position to win the game, the Stummel sacrificed itself to block the enemy advance, quite literally blocking the opening with burning vehicles. But, do you remember that enemy squad that I mentioned earlier in the building at the back? In the last turn of the game, they were the only enemy unit capable of moving on the main objective, so I ignored everything else, and I drenched that squad in gunfire. The Hetzer, the squad at the back, the veterans in the middle, even the rifle squad on the left-hand side took a long shot out. Absolutely everything I could possibly get to shoot at them, shot at them, and I took out a whole bunch of models, and they passed the leadership test. I took out a few more, but they got the last order die, passed their banzai, and ran up to the objectives. Half my army shot at this squad, and this one guy, this one model, didn't get taken out. And so, what really should have been a win here, stolen in the last second, and pushed down to a draw because of this one model. Last game on a suspiciously familiar village, at least I'm playing from the opposite side of the table. We have 3 objectives to take this time. I really need to take the middle and then veer off to one side to win 2 out of the 3 objectives. And so I split in half with sort of a V formation almost, and both halves are going to be able to push into the middle, and whichever side gets the stronger position during the first few turns is going to veer off to take the side objective on their side. And that's a great plan all the way up until this bloody panther deploys with a great line of sight over the board centre. I'm not a cat person, and I really don't have much to fight it. My Hanomag burned first, the veteran rifles on board busy themselves heading towards the middle of the board. My Hetzer was next, which really was the tank destroyer, the only thing I could use to take out the panther. That blew up, unfortunately. But my regular rifle squad here positioned within pouncing distance of the right hand side objective, but I tried to make sure it didn't look like that's what they were there for and put them in ambush, kind of pointing down the centre of the board. My Stummel, which had been doing really well today, got stuck into the left objective, but I didn't even damage the enemy tank here, and my opponent put his squad on ambush, just a stroke of tactical genius, meaning that if I deploy my veteran squad here with the Panzerfausts, I wouldn't be at point blank range, and that kind of swung it, and I didn't take out the tank with them either. And the next turn my Stummel got hit, but I did see off the enemy squad with my veterans. Now, I had planned before I moved my squad here to string the veterans out so that the one at the back would at least be within distance of the objective to contest it or maybe take it if I was lucky. But as I was moving them, I completely forgot this, and so another enemy squad snuck in and took it from me. Disaster, but well played all around by my opponent. The right wasn't necessarily going that well. I was losing a few units here and there, but I was able to keep my opponent bottled up behind these buildings. So I could take the objectives here with my regular squad just running across open ground, and no lucky one model last turn charge here, they were too far away. With the left lost and the right and centre mine, that does mean that I still got a win. So with win-loss-win, I came second overall, which is not too bad, but oh, wait a second, I dropped my middle game because of that one model. So actually, this one little pleb cost me a tournament win. Grr. Well, this list has performed quite well. Some of these units are quite interesting, and I'm actually liking the idea of having a mix of units. Veterans and regulars, fast and slow, long and short range. It's actually something I've been thinking about a lot recently, especially with the transition over to 3rd edition. So perhaps there's a video on that discussion in the works. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments below. Well, I have certainly had fun, and you should all go and play some games because they are fun. I'm ED-SKaR, always will be, and thank you very much for watching.